All right. I think we're here. I think live. I think we're not having problems like we did last week. Hopefully. That's the hope. I'm going to vamp here at the very beginning and say hello to everybody who's watching this in arrears. Juice Skates Loose says, hey, Harris. Joe Problem says, yo. And really, what more do you need to say? Kim GBS says, hey, Harris. Sam says, hello, your hat is lovely. Grizzly Boys, any hope for Joe Mixon? Get right into it. Sure, there's hope. Yes, there's hope. Jared says, hello. Birdie says, hey, buddy. Matt says, possums unite. Marco says, yo, Harris, let's go. Chris says, howdy, my friend. Matt says, how's the golf game? Yeah, gonna go play golf tomorrow with old Brooks Russell. Should be fun. Chris says, howdy, my friend. Yo says, is the Mitch Trubisky hype over, or did that last throw set a new tone for his season? No, I would say it's still over. Is Joe Mixon going to poo my lineup, says Chris. I love it. Is Joe Mixon going to poo my lineup? Probably still going to poo. I hope you don't poo, Joe Mixon. Or actually, everybody poos, but, you know. How's everybody doing? Hi. I made a podcast, and then I took a nap, and then I went to the gym, and I just got back from gym, and I took a shower, and now here I am. It doesn't feel like very much time has elapsed since the last time I spoke with you on the podcast, but hey, it's only been a few hours. Yeah, psyched to be here. We're going to watch some football tonight. Thank you for being here and watching, and BetDSI sponsoring. We'll talk about BetDSI later. Thank you for that, to them for that. So here at the beginning, I'll just say, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you're watching this, shame on you. Please subscribe to the channel. Shame on you. But do subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Like this video, that would be fantastic. Here at the very beginning, just give us a like because, again, we're trying to manipulate the YouTube algorithm, and it counts subscriptions. It counts subscriptions that result as a result of live streams, and it counts likes, and you guys are all commenting, so that's cool. And then so we're going to talk for an hour about your fantasy lineups and stuff. The one thing I would say is single position questions I'm not going to answer just because I have single position questions I've already answered. Who I would start, that guy, wide receiver, that running back, that running back. I've already answered on the harrisfootball.com. My ranks are there. There's the answer. If you've got a question like, why do you hate this guy so much? Then you can ask it that way for sure. And I'll probably say I don't hate him that much, but that's the idea. So if I sort of skip over questions, that's what I'm doing. I'm skipping the single position questions as best I can. Let's see. I hate the YouTube interactions since I am a boomer, as we've established. I am a boomer. I hate that it won't pause very well. Gary says, question about who to start. Yeah. Nathan says, Corey Davis tonight if Ramsey doesn't play. I don't know, boy. I mean, I get it. I get the logic, but I think it's about Marcus Mariota more than it's about Corey Davis. I mean, sure, it gives him a better chance for production, but boy, tough to trust any Titans player not named Derrick Henry at this point. Roger says, do you still make your football picks? If so, where do you post them? You know, I make them, but we decided not to do them on the YouTube channel. I know the celebrity producers, Dave Piper and Dave Hewitt, are watching, and they came to the conclusion that we weren't going to do them on the show, which is fine by me. They're in charge of the channel. I do what I'm told, and I actually am not saying that sarcastically. The channel was doing better, a lot better, because Piper and Hewitt are in charge and not me. And one thing they said was it's really focus on film breakdown and don't dilute it with other stuff like DFS stuff or picks. And so I don't really have a mechanism to give out the picks so far. Week 1, they were really good. Week 2 was a little above 500. So, yeah, I'm above 500 in the Super Contest. John says, you're awesome. Thanks, John. Len says, hola. Jack says, smash, smash, smash that like button. Indeed. Jake says, hello. Hazelnut says, orange, blue, and black. Orange, blue, and black. I think that's what that means. Tariq says, let's get it. Tom says, Mott and Bow. Uh-oh, this is actually not Mott and Bow. I don't think. No, this is Izod. Not a sponsor. Good thing this one isn't sponsored by Mott and Bow. They're so nice. They don't expect everything I wear to be Mott and Bow. AJ says, is it that crazy to start Josh Allen over Deshaun Watson this week? I mean, it's not how I have him ranked, as you can see at harrisfootball.com. All the single position ranks are at harrisfootball. It comes down, of course, in the end, it comes down to your own personal feel. I still have faith in Deshaun Watson. It was rough against Jacksonville, and All the offensive line problems you could ever want are still happening to Houston. Laramie Tunsil got shaken up in that game last week. My assumption at this point is that he plays against the Chargers, but I don't know for sure. I like Deshaun Watson a lot better than I like Josh Allen. Josh Allen is sitting on a time bomb. I mean, he's not a good thrower yet, maybe ever. And I worry that you could get the bad game, right? And Deshaun Watson usually is going to give you a pretty good game. I would start Watson, but it does come down to your individual comfort level. I don't think it would qualify under crazy because Josh Allen's been fantastic fantasy-wise for a couple weeks. Josh says we need more turkey mayo. Oh my God, can we all just give this video a like for the turkey mayo? If you listen to my podcast, which some of you do and some of you don't, but so on the podcast, listeners send in their karaoke songs based on ridiculous, stupid things that I've said. Right? A lot of you know that. Some of you who don't listen to the podcast might not know that. Podcast has been around for 4.5 years, and one of the greatest mixtapes ever, Chuck Saltmarsh. Oh my God, turkey mayo. If you haven't heard it, listen to yesterday's show, Wednesday's show. I don't want to ruin it. It was really good. Tyler says, what's your pick tonight? Both sides seem so ugly. I know. I think I'm on Jacksonville. Tennessee is a road favorite. I think that's what it boils down to is just I wouldn't want either of these teams as a road favorite. So am I going to bet the mortgage? My goodness, no. But I think I'm on Jacksonville. But yeah, I'm with you, Tyler. Boy. Happy says, hey, Harris, I got Mike Evans off waiver today. Yeah, that's not a good move to be cutting to Mike Evans. That's a very good job by you. Chase says, hey, Chris, shout out to Wyoming. Peace to Wyoming. Yeah, Wyoming. That was so street of me. I'm so cool. Patrick says, is Kittle still an elite choice? Sure, he is. It was actually a fine week one. It was rough last week, no question about it, but partly that's just we're running because we're winning by 100 points. Kittle's still an elite option, yes. Fox says hello from Oregon. Not. Fox, you're the man. You're a cool guy. I like your emails a lot. I like you, Fox. You're my kind of dude. Let's see. Kyle, in other words, you're mean to me in the emails, which I like. Kyle says, I was just in the middle of the pod. LOL. There you go, Kyle. Let's see. Kempner Sports says, I'm deep at wide receiver. Should I trade Keenan Allen for Aaron Jones? My other two running backs are Le'Veon Bell and James Conner. I mean, I think I have rest of the season ranks on harrisfootball.com, and that is my attempt, even though it's a very vague attempt, at trying to give you some sort of semblance of the way in which I value guys right now going forward. And I'm not looking at them right now. I'm pretty sure Keenan Allen is higher on that list than Aaron Jones is, but that doesn't mean you don't do it, right? Because you need a running back. And if that's the deal that's available for you, I prefer Keenan Allen in the complete dark there, but I get it. I get that you need a running back. I get it. By the same token, Bell and Connor is not a terrible combination. So, if you're talking about like a 10-team league, I get it. But I don't hate Bell and Connor as a combo either. W. Shemu says, hi there. Good something to take my mind off of the flooding here in Houston. So that's terrible. Been definitely seeing those stories. I'm sorry. I'm hopeful that everybody's safe there. Mr. Moriarty, welcome aboard the yacht. Matthew says, what new music are you listening to? So I played a song on the podcast last week, and it was sent in by somebody who listens to the show, by a band called Night Tapes. Night as in the time of day, and tapes as in like you listen to a cassette tape, right? Or you did when you were 5 years old. So Night Tapes, that's pretty good. It's definitely sort of mood. It's dreamier than maybe some of my choices a lot of the time, but there's a couple songs on there that are bangers. I thought the one I played on the show is pretty good. Check out Night Tapes. Good stuff. Very excited for the new Pornographers record to come out. Those first two songs from the new Pornographers record, one of my favorite bands. A couple of you may know, but I did a podcast a few years ago called The Juggernaut. I got to talk to Carl Newman on The Juggernaut and interviewed him for an hour. That was awesome. I don't know if he's a good guy, but he was nice to me, so that's all it takes. Digital Hunter says, PSA, smash that like button. Reminder, indeed. Tariq says, is it time to sell James White? It's not a terrible question. I mean, normally when someone says, is it time to sell a player, usually they're saying, is it time to sell Joe Mixon? And I go, well, no, this is the time to buy Joe. If you believe in Joe Mixon at all, this is the time to buy Joe Mixon because you don't want to sell distressed assets. But this, Tariq, isn't a terrible notion because James White hasn't been utterly terrible. So if I can't tell you that James White's role changes. It sort of is what it is. There are going to be some weeks that are really high. There are going to be some weeks that stink. And that's just sort of what he always will be because he's a Patriots running back. It's the best he could possibly be. He's not that great a player. If you're just sort of disillusioned with that and you think this is the best it could be, okay. Maybe if I have that in mind, maybe what I do, and this would be true for all theories of trading. And in fact, tomorrow on the podcast, where Josh and I are going to count down 5 players that we would trade for, try to put you in the neighborhood of what we think you could get the player for. Generally speaking, what I would love is if I've decided I want to trade somebody, I'd want to wait for the great week, right? I'd want to wait for James White to score a touchdown. I would want it to look fantastic. He did score a touchdown 2 weeks ago, right? But yeah, I don't think this is a time that screams you must trade him, but it's not also a terrible feeling. John says Golladay versus Eckler as a flex. I mean, it's completely fair. I get, I don't think there's a right answer. Tough for me to get away from Eckler right now. I'll tell you what, Kenny Golladay looks like another kind of special, but Eckler just has that. Eckler has much more safety than really almost any wide receiver, and still has plenty of upside, especially in a PPR. Tough for me to get away from Eckler, as great as Golladay has been. Boy, Galladay's been fantastic. Let's see. Joe says, would you believe LaFleur about giving Jamal Williams more carries this week? I tend to just ignore the coach speak. I tend to just, I'll believe it when I see it. It didn't, Williams plays about a third of the snaps, and that feels about right to me. He's probably about half as good a player as Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones isn't a superstar type of player. I think there are a lot of people who looked at yards per carry last year and decided he's a superstar kind of player, and I think he's pretty good. I think Jamal Williams is average to slightly below average. He's okay. He's just sort of a dude. I mean, he's a lot better than me. But, I don't think I would bench Aaron Jones as in response to anything a coach would say, nor would I start Jamal Williams. But it is fair to say, all right, now let's watch it in a game. And if we see 13 carries Aaron Jones, 12 carries Jamal Williams, if 50-50 split in playing time, then we go, I guess he was telling the truth. I feel like I wouldn't judge anything based on that to start with. So 255 people watching right now and only 104 likes. And actually it went from 105 down to 104. Somebody undid their like. So can we get up to 150 likes right now? That would be fantastic. 150, 123. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. 143. And I feel like we're about to get to 150. Oh, yeah, 155. We are smoking. This is great. I'm going to throw in a couple of sponsor mentions because BetDSI is sponsoring this show. So I'm going to talk about BetDSI on the podcast with cousin Josh. He's now texting me stuff about wagers and stuff that he never used to text me because he has a new account on BetDSI. It's just nice to have a place to play the point spreads. I play like $10 a game, so it's not like I'm talking about major investment. It's just fun. And I can get you a pretty good deal if you go to betdsi.com if you've been looking for a place where you can play the point spreads. It's a game where say Saturday you're going to watch Wisconsin, Michigan, or as I like to call it, Michigan. Anyway, last I looked, it was Wisconsin 3.5 over Michigan. If you're going to be watching anyway and you're like, oh, I don't really have a natural rooting interest, well, placing a $10 wager gives me a natural rooting interest. It just happens. I don't know why. I don't care about $10, but it does work. So betdsi.com. So if you're a newbie, if you've never really done this before, if you're just like, yeah, I might make a couple of bets and then I would maybe cash out, use the promo code HarrisTube5 and they'll match 5% of your deposit. And then sort of, if there's no rollover required, you don't have to play a bunch in order to cash out. But if you're a regular player, if you're somebody who plays a lot, I play a lot. If you're going to make a lot of bets, then do HarrisTube, just HarrisTube as your promo code. They'll match 100% of your deposit on betdsi.com. So you deposit $100, you'll have $200 to play with. Now you can't immediately cash out $200. That would be not the way this business works, right? There's a particular amount that you have to keep playing, and there's a formula. You have to make a lot of bets, and then eventually that money becomes gradually more and more yours. DraftKings is doing something similar now, actually. DraftKings will give you more to play with, but you can't cash it all out because they're giving you free money, right? But BetDSI, I've had the account there for like 4.5 years. I'm very pleased with them, and I hope you'll check them out if you've been thinking about finding a place to play. All right. Fire WWM says, what up, dude? Kepner Sports says, love your podcast. Thank you. Let's see. Case Closed says, Chris, do you think Fournette will bounce back with Jacksonville getting their starting left tackle back? I don't know. I don't know that the starting left tackle is that good. I said on the show today, my prediction is that, Fournette and Henry have the exact 23 carries, 67 yards, and a touchdown at the end of this game tonight. I don't know how you get away from using them and if you're a 10-team league, I can understand getting away from using them. If you're in a 12-teamer and you're comparing Leonard Fournette to Duke Johnson, I'm probably just going to say, or Carlos Hyde, go ahead, Fournette. You haven't been great. I thought he looked a little more sluggish in week 2 than in week 1, but I know that there's some non-sluggishness in there. What's up with Fournette getting stopped on the goal line there, not extending the ball? And was it Justin Reed who was 50 pounds later probably being able to grab him and hold him out? Good for Justin Reed, by the way, but wow, that was pretty surprising. But I think I'm playing Fournette if I have him in most situations, and I probably don't feel great about it because it's, he and Henry are limited players themselves somewhat, but also held hostage by offenses that just aren't going to take chances for as long as they can, because both offenses, as I've been saying all week on the podcast, are terrified of their quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota just has not proven trustworthy, and Gardner Minshew hasn't really been given a chance to be proven trustworthy. He's very conservative, but you're just going to see a lot of 3rd and 9. Oh my God, 3-yard pass. Thank you. That was performance art. Thank you very much. It makes a running back's life hard. It makes a wide receiver's life hard. It just makes it hard to watch. Avinash says, your hat is awesome. Thank you. Fox says, should I start Mecole Hardman against my wife, who is starting Mahomes against me? I think almost certainly yes. Almost certainly you should. Juan says, subscribe now. I agree. Jack says, what makes you rank Le'Veon Bell over Alvin Kamara for the rest of the season ranks? So that is a change from how I would have thought about it last week. It's probably almost exactly Drew Brees. It's like the advantage that Kamara has at all times. Even I think Le'Veon Bell might be a slightly better player still. Kamara, they're both great. Was always, we just don't have to worry about the trains running on time. The Saints are just going to score points. You want players on offenses that are good and have good players and driven by good stuff, right? And it hurts the cause to have Teddy Bridgewater playing like he played last week. So I will fully cop to maybe a slight overreaction, but I will fully cop to that's entirely about Brees not being out. If Brees hadn't been hurt, you can be guaranteed Kamara would have been ahead of Bell. There you go. Josh Gordon was dropped in my league. Should I spend 100% of Fab? I don't think you should, because we just don't know how that Patriot thing's going to work out. I mean, based on last week, a game in which they were winning by 40 and no rules really apply, there were too many mouths to feed, quite literally. It was, 4 catches was the most anybody got to. Now, I think it will get better for everybody in real games. How many real games the Patriots have is an open question. I don't think I'd spend 100%. I don't. I mean, of course, it depends on the format of your league and all that stuff, but I don't consider Josh Gordon a must start in all leagues right now, and it would strike me that you probably don't want to spend 100% on someone who is not definitely a must start in every league. Daniel says, looking swole AF. Thank you. I did just go to the gym. Very important question, says Travis. What brand of hairdryer do you use? Could it be a new sponsorship? I don't know what brand it is. I definitely dried my hair, though, but I don't know. I don't think I know. I don't think it's fancy, which is probably about what that looks like, right? Steven says, Harris Overload. I just fired up the podcast. I switched to check out the new YouTube video, and now he's live. I know, it's too much. Len says, comment. Thank you. That really helps, Len. Thank you. It actually does. Let's see. Mimi again. Ooh, I lost you, Mimi, again. Hold on. I reloaded. I hate that. I reloaded a whole lot of things. I want to get to Mimi. Let me see if I can search for Mimi. Mimi again. I lost it. I'm sorry about that. Stupid YouTube, stupid boomer. There's no way to pause it consistently. You can pause it for a while and then it goes away, and they all just scrolled right now. I think it was something about never change the open of the show, and I will not. I can't really guarantee it, but I have no intention of changing the open of the podcast, that is to say. Let's see. Kenneth says, do you see Sterling Shepard as a safe start or a risky one? I think so. Given that I haven't changed the ranks yet, just because I was at the gym, but I will. He sounds like he practiced. He's going to be playing. So from a concussion perspective, it's not great that you get a concussion, but I don't consider the injury as something that creates risk here. Boy, the rookie quarterback. I think risky. I think I would love if I had the luxury to take a rest on all Giants pass catching weapons. I don't think I have the luxury with that of Evan Ingram, but I feel like on a lot of teams, Sterling Shepard is the wide receiver 5, the wide receiver 6. Now, maybe not on your team, but if you can wait, I guess I would prefer to. I really have no idea what to expect with Daniel Jones. I really don't. I am not a great college scout. I don't always know what I'm looking at. And then also I'll say I don't watch a lot of Duke University football, and I don't imagine I know what I'm really even looking at even more with them, because who's he throwing to? And he didn't look great to me in the packages that were shown to me to prove to me that he wasn't great. But that could be wrong. I don't know. I'm gonna be able to give you a better story on Daniel Jones next week. And in the meantime, he could come out and be Gardner Minshew, or he could come out and look really functional. And if he's running the full offense and he's throwing the ball downfield and not afraid to throw it in the tight windows, and they're taking the reins off of him, I'm going to feel pretty good about Shepard and Golden Tate when he comes back. At least good enough to feel like in a bye week they're usable. But I'm going to wait if I can, I guess. Let's see. Diego says, your hat is non-existent. It's true. I'm not wearing a hat. That is true. Kev says, do you still hang out at Crane's in downtown Los Angeles? We had a listener mix up. We had a listener mix up there last year, a listener meetup at Crane's. I do. When was I last at Crane's? I went there to watch the Texas LSU game a couple Saturdays ago with a listener, actually. Somebody who came in from Austin and said, it was Tommy who came in from Austin and said, hey, you want to hang out and watch this game? I wasn't doing anything, so I said, sure. And he was a lovely fellow, and we had some dumplings and Cranes, and we watched Texas lose. It was too bad. But it was a good game. LSU's good. The Foxman says, how do you feel about starting Diggs and Thielen together? I could start Cooks as well. Given that you have Cooks, it feels like just pick one. You have a really, really good other option, and I look at the other team maybe and I go, I'm not scared of that team at all. I'll lock in my Vikings points, just play them both. But in most situations, I don't feel like I can definitively look at my opponent and definitely say, I know for sure they're not going to score many points this week. So probably if it's me, I pick one and not the other. And it is sort of frustrating because you go, well, then why did I draft them? And maybe I should trade one. And maybe you should, and yet I don't think you're getting fair value for them quite yet because Kirk Cousins hasn't played well. And once you get a great performance out of both of them, you're not going to want to trade them. And it sort of does leave you a little bit of headache. But then again, what in fantasy football doesn't? Juice Skates Loose says, any early hints at trade targets? Well, you all are watching, so I can think about – I haven't made my list yet. I think Joe Mixon is going to be on that list. I think – Kerryon Johnson is going to be on that list. Those are the two that occur to me right away where I go, I just think that, you're going to want to buy low. That's going to be the point. I'm not saying I'm sure that Kerryon Johnson's X, Y, or Z. Ty Johnson could suddenly become a big thing, right? Now that they cut C.J. Anderson in Detroit. I added Ty Johnson in a very deep league just as a speculative kind of thing. Joe Mixon, I thought looked at least healthy, and then the game completely got away from them and they really couldn't use him. Sort of a weird, he had 2 longer plays called back by penalty. He had a couple of shots in the end zone. He got tackled at the 1. He got stuffed. They threw it to Tyler Eifert on a play action. I still trust Joe Mixon to some degree. I'm not loving going to Buffalo. I get it, but I think over the long sweep of this season, I think he'll still be good. So I think, though, I haven't figured out yet what my proposals are going to be to Josh to see if I could get those 2 players, but I do think they're going to be on my lists for tomorrow on the podcast. Ryan says, is Jordan Wilkins an RB2 if Mac misses the game? I haven't considered it. I haven't gotten any updates, but you may have more updates than I have about Marlon Mack for today. I know yesterday he was hobbling around a little bit. What did Roto World say? He was carrying a walking boot? I don't think that counts as being in a walking boot, but he could be. Maybe you have more information than I do that he's. I haven't checked any news since I went to the gym. Would Jordan Wilkins be an RB2? I would say maybe more like a flex. I haven't thought about it. I haven't looked at the list. I mean, the running backs do get gnarly awfully quick. So maybe he does work his way into the top 24 technically, right? I wouldn't feel wonderful about it. I would feel kind of smart because he was a super deep sleeper. Always kind of root for those guys a little bit, but he's not. He's obviously fast. I mean, that play against Tennessee last week, you see, when he got in the open, he got there. He had some trouble getting in the open. I think the real problem that Jordan Wilkins had beginning of last season was fumbling. He just fumbled in 2 out of 3 games. They tried him as a starter because Mac was hurt in September. And remember that fumble against the Patriots, and they were like, you go to the locker room, like get out. I think he's okay. There's a chance. But I would feel like he's maybe more a DFS play than I want to definitely lock him in for my season long. Let's see. Okay, so we had 312 people watching, which is awesome. Except for we only have 207 likes, which means by my count, 118 now people have not liked. It just feels wrong. It just feels wrong. So let's get up to 260 likes. I'll just sit here. 260, 224, I like that. 234, I like that even more. 239, that was we're slowly getting there. 242, that was 3 more. Come on, people. Let's get to 260. 248. So close. 249, I mean, one at a time. Sheesh. Jordan says, I like your hate. And then the next post he goes, I meant hat. 253. 259. And I will not like your video, you jerk. 262. Look at that. Okay. EEZ asks, do you look at total points odds when making lineup decisions? I really don't. I know that is a big staple. The implied points is a big staple of the DFS community, and I understand it. I understand it to some degree there. I kind of also somewhat think it's overrated in that context too. But the reason to me it's maybe a little more appropriate in the DFS world is you can choose from everybody, right? You're choosing from the entire breadth of everybody, and you need more tiebreakers, as it were. You got a lot more very similar options or similar seeming options in terms of talent, in terms of matchup, in terms of all the kind of more subjective things that I tend to judge a lot of my lineup decisions based on. I understand why implied point odds comes into play a little bit more with something like DraftKings, and yet I still think it's overvalued there. I think in the end, let's face it. I mean, there are people out there who play 50, like Mitch said on the podcast today. People out there want to play 50 cards in a single millionaire maker and tweak the lineup, all to kind of try to account for the slight edge that things like implied point totals are getting you. You get a little bit of an edge because you're getting like a 50.9% edge, 51.2% edge because you picked Cowboys instead of blah, 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 right? I get that. But in our season-long lineups, we just don't have that kind of volume available to us. So if something like implied point odds is giving us a 50.9% edge, I just don't know that it feels to me like I want to judge talent more than that. What I think the player has looked like a little more than that. It's more where my ranks came from. So my true answer is that for my own lineups, when I'm establishing, it's a great question, by the way. My own lineups for my own teams, I am thinking the Ravens are playing the Chiefs, so that's coming into my subjective. It's all interconnected, right? The Chiefs have a great offense. Offenses that face them have a lot of pressure on them to keep up. There's potential for a lot of possession. There's a potential for a lot of aggression in whoever's opposing the Chiefs. Of course, when they play Miami, that doesn't matter. Right, the whole playing from behind thing. If the whole playing from behind thing was important, then the Dolphins would have a lot of fantasy superstars, right? But it's all sort of interconnected. So if in my head I'm saying the same reason that I'm thinking Ravens are kind of a little more attractive to me this week is the same reason that the implied point total is high, if that makes sense. So there's some interconnection, but I wouldn't say that I'm mathematically ever going, Implied point total, or the employed point total for the Cowboys this week is 37 points. Cool. Amari Cooper's definitely getting 18 of those, right? There's several leaps of logic there that I don't feel like we're all that accurate with. Let's see. We got Justin says, injury aside, what are your current thoughts on Shady McCoy? The Raiders seemed to sell out to contain the running game. Did they? I don't know. I think they blitzed a lot, and maybe sort of coincidentally were trying to clog lanes and stuff. I don't know. That was a weird game. It was like first quarter, the Chiefs didn't move it that great, and then the second half, Chiefs didn't move it that great, but they did everything they wanted in the second quarter, and then the running backs were hurt. So my thoughts haven't really changed since I did the McCoy video on this channel. Once this is over, take a look. I think from the first couple of weeks, I think LeSean McCoy is the best running back the Chiefs have in terms of the total package. Acceleration, he's just a little faster. Lateral quickness, he just has a little more lateral quickness. I think Damian Williams is a fine pass catcher, but I think LeSean McCoy is also a fine pass catcher. I don't know how Andy Reid's going to deploy them, and they've been successful, so there's no reason to say if Damian Williams is healthy that I'm positive they switch over and make it the LeSean McCoy show at some point. In fact, I would imagine the Chiefs suspect that if they did that to McCoy, he'll wear down like he wore down at the end of last year. I don't think he's going away unless he gets hurt. And I don't think, that notion that a lot of people floated, well, I don't know if you know this, dude, but Andy Reid always picks a running back and goes with him. And then I go, okay, except for I remember lots of years in Philadelphia where he didn't do that and we were really frustrated. So maybe it's just been that that's how things have gone. I don't know that coaches are really that stubborn. They usually they grind with what they have, and that's why they traded for McCoy, because they're like, okay, let's give ourselves a bunch of options. So I don't think McCoy goes away. And plus, we haven't even talked about Darwin Thompson, who I don't know if he's any good. I have no idea. I know he looks small out there. But Devin Singletary looks small out there. Christian McCaffrey looks small out there. It can work. I tend to be Devontae Freeman. I tend to be suspicious of the tiny boned of the smaller running backs, but he could get in the mix as soon as this week if Damian Williams can't play and McCoy can. We shall see. Adam says, I see you have Stephon Diggs ranked high consistently. Please explain why with subpar quarterback play. All right. Well, so I would ask you, should I have Adam Thielen that high, or should I have them about the same, right? So is it that and I'm not literally asking a question. I'm not being sarcastic here. Are you objecting to Thielen's rank too, or the fact that he's done a tiny little bit more than Diggs? Does that? So the reason is because they're both terrific, and because Kirk Cousins isn't terrible. Kirk Cousins was fine. We're not allowed to say, yay, I'm so excited that Julio Jones has Matt Ryan, and then be like, oh, but Stephon Diggs I'm out because of Kirk Cousins. Is Matt Ryan better than Kirk Cousins? Yeah. Is he light years better? I'm going to say no. Kirk Cousins is a league average quarterback. He's more aggressive than Alex Smith. He's like more aggressive Alex Smith. He's better Case Keenum. He's fine. He's good. He was clearly good enough last year to make both of them fantastic for fantasy. So I just am trusting that this is a small sample size. Diggs also was subject to just weirdness. He scored another touchdown that game. They called a phantom offensive pass interference on, I think, Dalvin Cook. It was ridiculous. It was not a penalty. The officiating has been unbelievably bad. And so, we're one bad call away from 2 touchdowns on 2 catches, but 2 touchdowns, and had an offensive interference call. Adam Thielen had an offensive interference call. Are you guys blown away? I remember all this stuff. God, I watched too much film. I'm not that worried about Diggs, I guess is what I'm saying. And I think that whatever criticism you're going to give Diggs, you should give Thielen too. That would be my sense. Len says, any impact from Josh Rosen now being the starter? You don't. The thing I would say is, is there a world where Josh Rosen is better than Ryan Fitzpumpkin and is able to make that offense functional? Sure, I guess. Josh Rosen was considered a great prospect. I think there were some things that he did in Arizona last year that worked okay, but so maybe that makes me hold on to Kenyon Drake on a bench for a little longer, but no implications for wanting to start anybody from the Dolphins. Don't start any Dolphins right now. Let's see. What do I got? Juan says, I have Aaron Rodgers, and I'm feeling scared about the numbers lately. Quarterbacks left on the wire are Stafford, Jimmy G, and Case Keenum. Should I get one for the bench? I wouldn't worry. Rodgers is fine. After that first quarter, nobody was freaking out. You know, he played fantastic in that first quarter. They went boom, boom, boom 3 times all the way down. It very easily could have been 3 touchdown passes instead of 2. Aaron Jones caught one and got tackled right on the 1, and then they handed it to him on the way in. It was rougher after that, there's no question, but Minnesota's got a good defense, and Chicago has a good defense. Frankly, Denver has a good defense. I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to be okay. Eric screams at me, Brandon Cooks or Aaron Jones, in all caps. And my answer to that would be, I don't think there's a definitive right answer. I think it's a fine sort of thing to have a conundrum about, and I don't think anybody would look at you and go, that's so stupid, you should do this. Like, it's going to come down to your feel, but it helps to hear someone talk about it, so I'll talk about it. I mean, one thing you might be interested in listening to is the podcast from today, because the first 5 minutes or so, I talked about what's wrong with the Rams' offense, and it's not the same. I mean, the first halves of these first 2 games have been ugly, flat out ugly, not functioning, not working well at all, and they've kind of figured it out, the play action, as the games have gone along, but the running game, that outside zone is not working, and everything works off of that play action, and if you can't block well enough zone is supposed to be the thing where you can make subpar offensive linemen kind of functional as a unit together, and they just have not done it. So I have some concerns, like I would like to see this. We're all going to watch the Sunday night game together. We're all going to see in action and see what that interior of that offensive line looks like. I have some concerns, and so the receivers feel a little less bulletproof than they have, and yet, of course, Aaron Jones also has questions, and Jamal Williams steals a touchdown this past week, and there's problems with him too. So I think those of us sitting on Rams receivers, and I have a lot of Cooper Kupp. I definitely have Brandon Cooks in one league. I'm not sure if I have any Robert Woods. For all of us, all you watching, it is a concern. It is. We thought it was going to be a wagon. We were promised a wagon, and I thought it would be too. Kansas City and LA, those are the wagons, right? And Kansas City's still the wagon, and the Rams feel like they're teetering on wagon hood, and now it's like a bunch of other teams. Now it's the Patriots. But yeah, I'll be really watching that game closely. Steven says, LOL Turkey Mayo song. Agreed. It was hilarious. Let's see. What do I got here? I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Dean has a Diener for 2. Really good question. Do I stand pat with Austin Eckler, or do I shop him? That's a great question, and I wish I had an answer. Of course, I could see it blown up in your face, but I also think that the smart fantasy football move, the smart strategic move, would be to trade Austin Eckler. Nothing against how he's played. No sort of, this summer, my concern about overvaluing Austin Eckler turned out to be 100% wrong. My thing was Justin Jackson kind of is Austin Eckler. Why am I assuming that Eckler gets the full load? I don't think the risk of Justin Jackson playing a lot is being factored into the Eckler price. No. I was wrong about that. Clearly, we're getting like 14 Justin Jackson snaps a week and 46 for Austin Eckler or whatever. So there's no criticism of him as a player here. But the reason it's the smart strategic move is because Melvin Gordon's on the horizon and we don't know what's going to happen. But if Melvin Gordon comes back, it can't be as good as it is right now. So you'd be giving up something in the short term because Eckler is rock solid right now. He's rock solid RB2. You could make the argument in a PPR he's RB1. Like, we'll see how it keeps going in the next couple of weeks. But it would depend on what you get. But I do think the right strategic move that could absolutely blow up in your face is to trade him. I do think that. Justin says, do you think Christian Kirk could be a top 20 fantasy receiver this year? So could be, sure. I don't have him rated that way at this point. To some degree, he's suffering because of Larry Fitzgerald being there, and they're sort of being a nice little split. Also, the whole offense is suffering from Christian Kirk not really being ready for prime time and not being, he's going to be a really good player. I don't think he's a really good player yet. And I think in a lot of cases, I don't want to say most cases, but in a lot of cases for a wide receiver to wind up top 20, it requires a very good quarterback, or at least a good quarterback that I don't think Kyler Murray is yet. So could be, sure, because Marvin Jones was wide receiver 6 a couple of years ago. Like, could be. My prediction would be not. Aaron says, how worried are you about Kamara? I mean, not worried enough not to play him. It stinks. It stinks for all the Saints with no Drew Brees. But, yeah, I think you bite the bullet, you play him. You wouldn't choose just generally speaking, the strategy with fantasy is don't trade distressed assets. If you're very concerned about Kamara and you think it's just not going to happen for him and it can't be good the next 6 weeks without Drew Brees, wait for a good Kamara game. And that's when you have to, that's when you're tempted to keep him because you're like, oh, I just got 3 touchdowns on Alvin Kamara. This is amazing. If you really feel worried, though, now you stick to your guns then, and that's when you get a mint for him. I think you just don't want to trade distressed assets in fantasy. Zach says, is Kerryon a bust? I don't think so. I think you're going to be happy with Kerryon eventually. He's going to wind up being somebody who I advocate you trade for. I still think he looks pretty good. One thing that's weird, and I guess it must mean the injury is nothing, but he got taken out of that game early fourth quarter, and I don't quite understand why we aren't getting any reports on it. I guess it just wasn't a big deal, and I guess he's going to play this week, so it's good. And Philly is not a good matchup for a running back. It's a much better matchup for passing game, it seems like, after 2 weeks. But I think Kerryon Johnson is good enough that I consider him a buy low. Ryan says, in the name of Chubb. Exactly. In the name of Chubb. People who don't who don't listen to the podcast have absolutely no idea what half of what I say means. Why are you calling Tevin Coleman turkey mayo, you knucklehead? I am a knucklehead. There's no question about that. All right. So let me take a quick break to thank BetDSI for sponsoring this show today. BetDSI, if you've been looking for an online sports book where you can play the games, you can play from your phone. It's pretty easy. You want to play the point spreads. You got to go offshore unless you live in one of those few states. If you live in Nevada, you don't have to. But if you live in New Jersey and you can get to the DraftKings there, that's cool. But I live in California. So you have to go offshore, and BetDSI is where I play. I've had an account there for 4 plus years. I play there every week, multiple times. It's really fun. If you're going to be watching games anyway, like tonight's game, what do we have? Tennessee 1.5, was it? Is it Tennessee 1.5 at Jacksonville? I just don't particularly think the road team, 1.5. I don't think the road team should be favored, so I'm going to be on Jacksonville for that game. I'm not saying that if Jacksonville were favored, I wouldn't be on Tennessee. I might just be on the dog, period. But a road dog, when I think both teams are meh, I'm probably just going to take the home team and hold my nose. Don't love it. Don't get me wrong. But there are bets to love this week. I'm sure there are. Let's see. On my slate, I would say I kind of like Giants plus 6.5. What has Tampa done to be given almost a touchdown? If that line is still 6.5, if it goes to 7, I like it even more. I think I like Chargers -3 against Houston. Maybe the last impression is burning too much of a hole in my brain, but I kind of just feel like they're going to get to Deshaun Watson and create some havoc. I like Houston this year, but yeah. I think I'll take actually maybe Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh being a 6.5 point road favorite. I said it at 2. I said San Francisco -2 and it's -6.5. That's the one. That's the one I feel like. That's going to be my super contest. I like Pittsburgh a lot. Anyway, BetDSI is where I play. It's fun to talk about this stuff. I could just get distracted and talk about point spreads for the rest of the show, but I won't. So we have 2 promo codes. It'll be in the show notes if you're watching this afterwards. If you go to betdsi.com, if you're a newbie, if you haven't done it before, and you're like, yeah, I might just want to try it a little bit, but then be able to, just like cash out. Use our promo code HarrisTube5. They'll match 5% of your deposit. You won't have any rollover requirements. If you are a vet, if you play a lot of games, I play a lot of games. It's like $5 or $10 a game, right? It's not a lot. Then use the promo code HarrisTube. They'll double your bankroll when you sign in, and you don't get to take that money out all at once, right? But over time you get to build that, and it becomes more and more your money. Anyway, betdsi.com. If you're looking for a place to play the games, I do recommend them. Okay. Let's see. We got Sean, good question. 2-quarterback league. Any chance Taysom Hill is worth anything? I mean, the number of times that Sean Payton has said, I think this guy might be Steve Young. If he was Sean Young, that would be news. Sean Young was a very, very attractive woman about 30 years ago. She's in Blade Runner. That was a pretty nice role for her. The number of times he said he's Steve Young, you'd think, if you thought he was Steve Young, why are you playing Teddy Bridgewater, right? My gut is no, but I also think that in 2-quarterback leagues, we can't. I mean, in a 2-quarterback league, I just spent $13 of fab for Mason Rudolph, and I have 2 quarterbacks. In a 2-quarterback league, it's just these are very valuable commodities. So would I say no to a dollar bid on Taysom Hill and just let's see? I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it, but I wouldn't be running right out and trying to kind of develop a fab strategy completely around him, because I just haven't seen it. As a thrower, we haven't seen it. He's obviously a good runner, but as a thrower, we haven't seen it yet. Ziggurat says, what are your thoughts on Ty Johnson? Is there anything special? I wouldn't say I've seen enough to know whether there's anything special. I think the Lions gave us some signal about Ty Johnson by cutting C.J. Anderson. They signed Paul Perkins at the same time, and maybe they just have always loved Paul Perkins. But, I mean, I think we've all had enough Paul Perkins in our lives probably at this point. Certainly Giant fans were promised something good, and I was skeptical through his whole career, and I remain skeptical. So to me, it's the Lions saying we're upgrading Ty Johnson. He's our number 2 now. What's interesting about that is that Kerryon Johnson is bigger than Ty Johnson. So all the thought about taking the load off of or taking the goal line or blah, 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 feels like that's up for grabs for sure. Ty Johnson had a few nice runs in the Charger game. He got one series to himself while Kerryon Johnson was still in the game. They gave it to him 4 or 5 times, and he had a lot of room to run, and I thought he was okay looking. I wouldn't say I've seen enough to know. I really had no context for him coming out of Maryland. I didn't watch a lot of Maryland football. He wasn't beloved in any of the scout communities who came on my show to talk. Nobody pounded the table and said, hold on, we're talking about running backs. Can you get to Ty Johnson? I really loved, nobody did that for me. So I'm interested. Like I said, in a 16-teamer, I added him and feel like it could pay off. Who knows? I don't know how the usage works out, but I really think Kerryon Johnson is a pretty good player. Maybe, not elite, but in the very good category. And so I would be surprised if I wind up thinking Ty Johnson is better. Let's see. How much fab for OJ Howard? I had David Njoku. I'm going to try to do a lightning round here in the last 10 minutes. So if I don't give you a long explanation, I apologize. When I say lightning round and then I don't go lightning, people get really mad at me. So I'm actually going to try to go fast. How much fab for OJ Howard if I lost Njoku? I would say a lot. I would say it depends on depends on lightning. Depends on if anyone else in your leagues really, really needs tight ends. But if you think someone else might, then maybe as high as 20, 25. Thoughts about David Montgomery for the rest of the season? I think he's on the upswing. I just don't know that I think he's special. He's a thumper. He's powerful. We were sold maybe more than just a power back. So far, he has looked like just a power back. But I also think the workload from week 1 to week 2 is trending in the right direction. Let's see. Let me get single position question. Not single position questions. Ridley or Kerryon Johnson in a flex for half point per reception. It feels easy to just go, let's go Ridley and give Kerryon a week. I'm starting Kerryon in a couple of leagues, but yeah, it feels easy. You could do that. Chris says Gardner Minshew is going to go off. Go Cougs. I'm glad to see, Chris, that you're not biased based on your liking of colleges. Dan says David Montgomery or DK Metcalf in a PPR. I think Montgomery for safety, Metcalf for upside. Look at the rest of your lineup, I'd say. If you have a single position question, look at harrisfootball.com. I'm seeing a bunch of those. I'm not going to answer those here because I answered them in the ranks. Diego says, phrase from 2018 that hasn't made it to 2019 yet. How do you fix your mouth? But Diego, now that you've said it, how are you, Diego, by the way? How's the family? Early leader, Diego says, for 2019 is if that offense is a wagon. I know I've said that a lot. I'm coining, where did that come from, a wagon? What's my issue? Can we get a mixtape about wagons? That would be great. Any Dolphins usable? Ahmed says, no, not right now. Oh, Casanova, what's Harris's take on Christian Kirk? I gave it earlier. I think he's a really good player. I'm excited about his future. I'm probably thinking that the performance to this point is a little inflated, and it's going to be, or not inflated, but it's just going to be up and down. That's what comes with a rookie quarterback. Garrett says, is Mark Andrews legit? I don't know if I think he's special, but he's got a lot of targets. They have 3 tight ends. They play all 3. I'll say for fantasy purposes right now, let's just consider that he's legit. Let's see. I missed it. Wait, hold on. I missed it. Let's see. Pick one. Those are all wide receivers. Go to the webpage. So don't keep typing in your wide receiver question. I have wide receiver ranks. Irvin Doe. You can go find out on the website. I see you typed it in like 17 times, dude. I'm not going to answer it. Go to the website, harrisonfootball.com. John says, Matt Breida or Hollywood Brown? I think I'd play Brown. Alexander asks a defense question. Just go to the website and you'll find my question. You'll find my ranks. Nick Balfour says, Carlos Hyde or Cortland Sutton in a PPR? That's fair. It's a fair question. I probably would play Hyde, and then I would probably hate myself as Cortland Sutton scored a touchdown. But I think I would play Hyde. I mean, there's no right answer there. That's a toughie. Ryan says, will the Eagles be forced into playing run heavy because of the wide receiver injuries? They weren't last week. I think in the end, we are bad at predicting game flow no matter what. I'm sure in a world where they get out big and the Lions turn it over and it turns into a 21-0 lead, they would love to run and just kind of save Carson Wentz, but we're not good at predicting that kind of stuff. So I think probably it wouldn't be something I would base my fantasy strategy on. Galladay or Todd Gurley in flex? I'm going to probably play Gurley. Let's see. A good question. If you have both Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, is it worth starting them both still? I think in most fantasy situations, you're sort of locked in. You drafted them both because you're like, hey, the Saints are really reliable. And they are. You were right. It was smart thinking. And the only thing we weren't considering was whether Drew Brees would get hurt. And now it is sort of rough. But I think I would want to wait a week anyway. I wouldn't want to trade anybody right now. If you get real worried and Michael Thomas has a 100-yard game, trade him then. I think, yes, this week you probably start him. Lightning round. Well done. Possum's favorite mixtape this year so far. He's right over where? Favorite mixtape. What? He's hammered. It's 2:53 in the afternoon Pacific time, and the Possum is hammered and smoking. Not supposed to smoke in here. Yeah, he doesn't know. AG says, Chris Herndon not ranked. It's more of a should I pick up a suspended players question. Yeah, I mean, he's not ranked in the top 100 just because I'm only doing a top 100, so not that many tight ends are going to find their way in there. It's easier by the week to be adding Chris Herndon and Golden Tate because their suspensions are getting close to being over as opposed to Kareem Hunt, where I don't know how you can wait 2 months, right? It's fine. It takes a deeper league, but it's okay. I lost one there. Stupid boomer. I would like to find that question that I was going to answer. Iron Magic says, Lamar Jackson for McCaffrey in Superflex. What do you think? If it's a trade, I'm probably still going to prefer McCaffrey. It's getting more legitimate by the day with Cam Newton probably not playing this week, it seems like. But and quarterbacks are obviously way more valuable in Superflex. I still think McCaffrey would go higher in a draft. I think it's a fair trade, though. If someone's desperate for a quarterback and someone else really, really needs a running back, it's not a rip-off kind of deal. It could be if Lamar Jackson regresses. I think McCaffrey is safe, but he can get hurt. So I go basically, I think it's fair. I think I prefer the McCaffrey side of it, but if you needed the quarterback, I get it. It's okay. Alexander says, flex Raheem Mostert versus DJ Shark. Ugh. It's a good question. Lightning round answer would be me, I play Shark. He's a little more fun and exciting. Mostert's probably a little safer. Auburn Tiger Productions, Devontae Freeman or DJ Moore, half point per reception. Another one, good, great flex question, perfect. That is the epitome of a flex question. I'm vamping so that I can give you my lightning round answer of. It's not very lightning, is it? Someone could do an impersonation of my lightning round, which is very slow. I think I would probably play DJ Moore. Che says, do I think Aaron Jones continues 20-plus touches? Can't legislate usage. I really, really don't know. In any given week, probably no. He's not going to average 20, but I think he'll probably keep the lead. McCoy or Christian Kirk, half point per reception, says Jarrett. There's a lot of stuff to be determined. I'm not sure how healthy McCoy is, but if we had pure healthy McCoy and no Damian Williams, it would clearly be McCoy for me. Flying Penguin says, hey, Harris, do you think DK Metcalf has top 15 ceiling rest of the season, even if he's the 2 behind Lockett? I think he does have that. His ceiling is to be better than Lockett. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a ceiling. I'm not saying he's going to make it, but the answer is yes. Do I think he has that kind of ceiling? I do. Sam says, should I drop Latavius Murray to play Frank Gore? I mean, you're having to make a serious devil's bargain. I'm okay with it. You can look at my running back ranks and see where I have them ranked. I do have Gore ahead of Latavius Murray. Obviously, don't love the idea of Gore. X-Batman says, how much fab on Montgomery in a $100 league with a half point per reception? If it's a league where David Montgomery is being dropped, that means you probably have a lot of stars on your team. So I would maybe say $10. Justin says, you're awesome for doing these videos. You're fairly welcome, Justin. Dennis, should we be legitimately concerned about Tariq Cohen? No joystick run so far. It's true. Talked about him in Flexual Healing on the podcast today. Very fair comment, Dennis. We should be concerned, sure. I think we should be concerned. I decided I was going to give him one more week. If he's going to average 7 touches a game, the usage was so different week 1 to week 2. It was so different. Week 1, he's basically a slot receiver. Week 2, he ran 4 snaps out of the slot. Just weird. I just don't have a context for how Matt Nagy wants to use him. And that whole offense is kind of being held hostage by how scared they are of Trubisky. But yeah, if we get one more week of just kind of not just the stats, but the what it looks like, then it's time to be concerned. Fair point by you. Let's see. Kristen, been getting hassled for Saquon Barkley forever. What would you consider a fair trade value in 2020 draft picks for Saquon Barkley? I mean, I don't want to trade Saquon Barkley, but if you're to the point where there's a reason in your league why you feel like you can't win with him or something this year, I mean, the moon, I don't think there is fair. It's like I want someone's first round pick for sure. I want their 3rd round pick and their 4th. Like I want a lot. He's the best player. Like I just think you should hold on to him, to be honest. Trade the farm for Le'Veon, says Chris. The farm? I wouldn't say. No, I don't want to trade the farm, but he's good. Adam says, good question. Should we be hanging on to Dante Pettis? No, I mean, yes, I guess. In the leagues where I have him, and there are a bunch, I'm probably going to hold on because they're pretty deep leagues, and there's not a lot on the waiver wire that I'm going to replace him. Like, he's a speculative ad right now to say we just haven't seen, we don't know what's up. It's not a football thing. We just flat out don't know what's up. If you're in a league where the waiver wire is full of people you might actually use, goodbye Dante Pettis. No reason to be hanging on to some dude because I liked him 3 weeks ago. If it's a league like I think the leagues I own him in, it's more like I would be picking up for DJ Shark. Well, I'm just going to keep Pettis because they're sort of the same kind of dart throw. Don't want to use him right now. Let's see how it goes. And I feel that way in a deep league. If Pettis is dropped, I'll add him just to see, not to use him. My God, obviously it's going to take weeks to gather trust, but there's just something weird that's not football related going on for sure. Let's see. Subscribers, hashtag soon. Love the crazy goal. Thanks, crazy goal. Oh, love crazy goal. Thanks, crazy goal. How do you feel about Kerryon Johnson going forward? I'm in the buy low camp on Kerryon Johnson going forward. So we're at the end here. People who haven't liked it, I would love if you would like this video here at the end. We got 312 likes. It really helps to get the most likes physically possible. That would be wonderful. And let's see if I can get you Let's see. Derek says, love your show. Been listening since the ESPN days. That's so nice of you, Derek. Thank you. Sean says, hey, Harris, a bit perplexed by Deion Lewis so far this year. How much longer do we hold before we seek out a waiver option? It's the same. Yeah, I think you can almost feel like it was a late round gambit. He was free. I mean, I guess we can watch tonight. I just think they've made their decision with Marcus Mariota. You're going to see it tonight. They just don't want to be aggressive. They just have no interest in doing anything fun, frankly. I want Deion Lewis to be a 8-catch, 70-yard, fun open field play, touchdown here and there. That was always the best case with him, right? He's not going to be a traditional running back, but they're just not doing anything like that. So I think we're pretty close to cutting bait, unfortunately. Chris says, you've given us Tyreek, Kamara, Kittle. Is there a player catching your eye yet on film that we want to keep an eye on? Nothing immediately comes to mind. Dallas Goedert was the big feeling this summer, but it's just so long from being relevant, and he got hurt anyway, but not with Zach Ertz there. I don't have, I'm more like everybody thinks that they thought Mixon was good last year and now thinks they stink. I still think Mixon is good. Kerryon Johnson's kind of same thing. I still want to, but I don't think these guys are like discoveries in the way that you're talking about. I don't have any. DJ Shark is really interesting, but just trapped in a loveless marriage. And not of a Tyreek Hill kind of bust out kind of dude. I'll keep my eye open, I promise, but nothing where I go, wow. Kittle, I wasn't saying he was going to be Kittle, let's face it, but I was saying it with Mixon and with Tyreek Hill. Kamara, I was. That's true. Nobody right now that comes to mind. All right, so I guess this is about it. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. We will be back on the YouTube channel. Celebrity producers, Davids, the Hewitt, and the Piper are going to produce something that I put together tonight after the game. So Friday morning, there should be something about tonight's game and maybe something else that's fun. You know what? In fact, if you're watching this afterwards or if you're watching this now, if you want to leave some ideas of players, to like one player tomorrow that you'd like to see film review on, we'll take a look. If there seems to be some sort of consensus, we'll take a look. I might pick a player not from tonight's game since tonight's game is going to kind of stink. But we'll have a show up. Of course, I'll do the podcast. It's 5 days a week. If you don't know that I have a podcast, harrisfootball.com. It's a pretty popular podcast, but not everybody knows. And we're hoping that new people discover it via YouTube. That would be awesome. So your hat is awesome. You're awesome for wearing it. And I'm going to go rest my voice a little bit, watch this game in a couple of hours, and then record some stuff, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you very much. We'll see you. Bye.